Hi, my name is Odi Kosmatos, VP of R&D at Xceed, and I'm going to show you briefly what's new in version 3.1 of Xceed DataGrid for WPF. The first thing we did was we added a built-in column chooser control. So with only a couple of lines of code, you can turn that on and your end users will be able to visually select which columns are visible or not visible. It looks like this. They just right-click on the column header, select which columns they want to render invisible, and the visible if they want. Okay, so that's pretty simple and that's built in for you in version 3.1. The next thing we've done is we've added data virtualization. I've got a demo of it right here. What is data virtualization? It means that the data grid only loads the rows that it needs to display instead of loading the whole database table. And the beautiful thing about our implementation is that the data grid, when it needs to display new rows, it gets them asynchronously. It does not freeze the UI. I'll show you what it gives as a result. In this demo, we have a database simulation of 500 million rows, and we're going to simulate that a query to get more rows takes about 300 milliseconds. Okay, so if I start scrolling down now, don't forget we preemptively load rows before and after what you see, so that if you start scrolling, it'll immediately respond. Let's go. I'm going to start scrolling down line by line. As you can see, it looks like everything's already loaded into the grid. The reason for that is that it's getting the new rows in the background. But what if I start doing page down? Okay, so as you can see, from time to time, it doesn't have rows to display, but when it gets them, it displays them. And now the page downs are pretty fast. And again, it's able to do this because when it starts running out of data to display, it gets it from the database asynchronously. That's the data virtualization feature. The next thing I would like to show you is our new export to Excel feature. It supports exporting master detail views and stat functions directly to Excel, so that if you have a line that gives you aggregates, then and you change something in Excel, the stat function is a real function, it's not just a string, so whatever you exported from the data grid to Excel will be dynamic. Finally, the last thing I'd like to show you is persist user settings, a new feature so that end users like to customize the data grid, like to make certain columns wider than you thought was necessary, and they'd like to change their grouping or set some columns visible or not visible, sort, add a filter, things like that. We give you classes that you just call these classes, and the data grid will give you data that you can save and then reload back into the grid really easily, so that you can restore the grid to the state that the user had it the last time they were using the data grid. And last but not least, we've added UI automation that lets you, that gives you accessibility for your application, and it also lets the data grid be more compatible with applications that automated scripting applications for testing your code. So that's what's new in version 3.1 Professional Edition. There's the Express Edition, which is free, and there's a whole bunch of new features on that version too. You can get that for free on Xceed.com. Thanks, and good programming.